All right, welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of February, 2023, and this is the Cluster API project meeting. Cluster API is a sub-project of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we adhere to their community guidelines, which essentially means for this meeting, please raise your hand if you'd like to talk, and I will call on you, and please be kind to each other. So at the beginning of every meeting, we like to take some time to welcome new attendees to the community or to the meeting. So I will be quiet for 30 seconds here. And if anyone would like to unmute and say hello or raise your hand, please do. All right, I am not seeing anyone unmuting, so I'm guessing no one is interested in saying hello right now. So please don't forget to add yourself to the attending list. And yeah, let's get into our agenda. So we start after that with the open proposal readouts. I don't know if we have any though. So yeah, there's nothing open. I don't know if there's anyone who wants to speak on any of the stale proposals. I'm guessing not, but I'll give a second in case someone is here. All right, I'm not seeing any hands go up. So let's move on to the discussion topics. So Fabrizio, you're up first with a PR to add support for KCP remediation.
Yes, hello everyone. So we already talked about this a couple of times in the after hour when there was the proposal amendment, etc., etc. So this is a work that basically make an amendment to how we do KCP, remediation in KCP, and more specifically, it will allow KCP to do remediation on while you are provisioning your cluster. So if the first machine fails, it will throw it away, recreate a new one. If the second machine fails and you have a control plane of 3, it will try to remediate the second machine, and so on. And when you are up to 3 machines, which is your side, then KCP remediation works as today. So what we are doing is that we are adding on a new feature, extending the capability of how KCP remediates. So the PR is out. We had a bunch of review. I thank you everyone for the feedback, especially Stefan, that really helped to bring this PR near the finish line. And what I really would like to focus is that, okay, this PR, the code is not difficult to read if you want to look at it. But what is super interesting, in my opinion, is that for this PR, we basically added and totally revamped how we are doing end-to-end test for KCP remediation. Now we have really a good coverage. And so given that there is an extensive, this is KCP, we know it is dedicated, but this is the control plane. But we have an extensive unit test stuff and one of the most complex and fun to write end-to-end test that we have in Cluster API. So yeah, I'm proposing, first of all, I'm asking folks, if you have time, please take a look. Second, if there are no objections, I will set a lazy consensus for merging this PR, which is out from some time now. And so we can have as much as possible test cycle out in the wild.
That is very cool to hear about the expanded coverage, and you've got me extremely curious about the nature of the end-to-end testing there. I think you sold it pretty well. Does anybody have questions or comments about this topic? All right, I'm not seeing any hands go up. Thank you, Fabrizio, and please, everyone, go take a look at that PR. So Stefan, you're up next with removing the V1 Alpha 3 and V1 Alpha 4 API versions. Please take it away.
Yep. So both are essentially topics that I brought up like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, but let's take a look at them one after another. So that issue is about that we essentially want to remove the v1-alpha3 and v1-alpha4 API version, API types, and all that kind of stuff. We had a few discussions, and we also sent it out on a mailing list 2 weeks. I mean, over the last 2 weeks. And the plan would be what you can see here now. Essentially, with 1.4, we just did an announcement. With 1.5, we stopped serving v1-alpha3. Nothing changes for v1-alpha4. So essentially that we can just test it out with one API version. Then with v1.6, we would drop v1-alpha3 and we would stop serving v1-alpha4. And with 1.7, we eventually drop v1-alpha4 and we're done. It felt on the issue that we basically have consensus. What I did is I opened a PR to basically formalize this plan by documenting it in contributing MD. So in contributing MD, we have a section where we're talking about which versions are in support and how long they're end of life and all that kind of stuff. If you scroll, that one, document, So I opened that PR to document what our plan is from a more like user perspective and then link to the issue. And what I would like to do is essentially set a lazy consensus on that PR. And when we merge that PR, we have essentially agreement on that. That's what we want to do. If there are no objections, I would say let's give it a week. And if someone says, "Oh, we need more time" or whatever, then we can rediscuss. But otherwise, we would merge. I guess next Wednesday should be fine.
So I guess are there any objections to starting a 1-week lazy consensus on this PR? I see a thumbs up. I'm not seeing any thumbs down or hands up. So I guess we'll put a 1-week lazy consensus. What would that make it?
Wednesday next week.
Yeah, it would make it next Wednesday. Yeah, that's right. It would. All right, cool. So please, people take a look. And if not, we will be very lazy and merge it next week. Thanks, Stefan. All right, you've got the next topic on removing jobs for unsupported release branches. So please
so
take
similar style. I mentioned it 2 weeks ago. We sent it out on the mailing list. We had this issue. It feels like we have consensus on the issue, and I opened a PR for it. But just to talk about the topic quickly. So that issue is essentially for which release branches are we running end-to-end tests, or not end-to-end tests, tests in general, but the main part is end-to-end tests. And the proposal is that we, of course, we run tests for all our supported branches. And then we run tests for one additional release. So essentially, as of today, 1.3 is in support, so we run tests. 1.2 is in support, so we run tests. 1.1 is already out of support, but we still run tests up until 1.4. Basically just, we have some weird thing that we have to do an emergency release, then we still have the tests around and we can actually still do a release because we still have test coverage. That's the argument for waiting essentially 4 months longer. And there I opened a PR which just describes that as some sort of policy. I think it's almost the same place as the other PR. So the first part is just describing what we would test. And the second part is just, I guess, operationalize it in our release tasks, that at a certain point in time in our release cycle, we also drop test jobs and not just only add them. Basically, suggesting the same. If no objections, 1 week lazy consensus.
Okay, cool. So I guess, does anyone have any objections to setting a lazy consensus on the other documentation here? I'm not seeing any hands going up. I do see a thumbs up. And yeah, I will echo what is being said in the comments here. Stefan, thank you so much for the hard work here. I think it's awesome to see these documentation bumps as well, because it really makes it clear for our users. So yeah, thank you so much. All right, cool. So Fabrizio, release cadence, please take it away.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Before
sorry.
before
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, before jumping on the release cadence, I would like to echo a discussion that we had in the SIG, in the Kubernetes SIG leads and tech leads meeting about infrastructure cost of Kubernetes. I don't know if every one of you is aware. Basically, what happened last year is that Kubernetes as a project started a big effort to migrate some of the infrastructure, which is currently paid by Google, to CNCF owned infrastructure, and to infrastructure which are sponsored by other companies like AWS, etc., etc. These are long and complex process, but the TLDR is that last year, at the end of the year, basically the project was required to go and ask for some additional funding, because basically we were going out of budget. And it happened during, the discussion happened during KubeCon, and luckily, we found a company that provided some funding to reach the end of the year. The main or the biggest source of cost that they are test infra folks are trying to address is the cost of egress traffic for the images download. This is why, if you are aware, they implemented the migration from the old repository, which is GCR, the Kubernetes GCR.io, to the new registry.io. I don't remember the names, but I can add them exactly. So in last week tech lead meeting, basically the discussion was, hey guys, we are looking at cost, that spending that the project is having, and we are even spending more than last year. And so this raised the attention, and everyone, and this is a call for action. Please go, make sure, check your project, check your CI, check your automation, check what you're telling your customers to do, but make sure that we as a community, we move as much as possible folks from the old registry to the new registry. So basically we can reduce the cost of Kubernetes infrastructure, and we can keep the light on till the end of the year. And there was a strong call for action. Please, everyone, do whatever you can. And I also invite to look at the it's not a joke, Stephen, an early vacation. They basically, if we don't find a solution, there is the risk that Kubernetes sometimes a little bit earlier than November does not have money to run tests, and so you don't run tests, you cannot merge PR, and that's mean that the latest release of the year is at risk if the solution is not addressed. So please, everyone, this is a community ask. Let's do whatever it is in our capability to shift from the older registry to the new one. And I think that also stopping, even if they are not the biggest source of cost, let me say, being paying attention to which job are we running, especially to the old one, stopping them to run, is part of the doing our part as a project in solving this bigger issue. Stefan?
Yeah, just to follow up on the last thing you said, jobs which are still using old registry. That plays nicely into the third topic that I had like 3 weeks ago, and I bring up next week. Is essentially that we define which Kubernetes releases we support in Cluster API and run the tests accordingly, because we still are running tests for, I don't know, for 9 different releases. And especially the old releases are still using the old registry. So that will be an additional win there.
Yeah, and that's a good one. And there is also, I invite also everyone, and I can also search for it and copy on the meeting notes. So there is a email sent to the Kubernetes developer mailing list, where they're basically telling that starting from 127, Kubernetes imaging will stop to be published to the older repository. So from 127, you can only use the new registry. They made also some stats on which version customers are using. As expected, we have many users that are still on old version, and which are already out of support from a couple of years. And so it is also under discussion the idea of stop serving at a certain point with some policies to be defined to stop serving images for old Kubernetes version. That means if you want to use if people want to use old Kubernetes version, they have to set up their own local registry with and call it Kubernetes ECR. So this is a serious topic. Yeah, we have to help customer to move to more recent Kubernetes version, use the new registry, etc., etc. Thank you, Stefan. Could you add to the meeting notes as well the link to the mailing list? Exactly. Yeah, please take away, because otherwise you will have everyone is offering Kubernetes as a service could have some not nice surprise. Okay.
Yeah, this is an awesome public service announcement. Thank you, Fabrizio. And I'm just going to try to call as much attention as I can to these links. So anybody and everybody who's here or watching this later, please review this material just to make sure that you're aware of it. And also, if you manage a project that might be using these things, as Fabrizio was saying, to become a better community, we all need to kind of take part in this and look out for our bits. So yeah, without further ado, Fabrizio, please.
Okay, so moving on to something different, release cadence. So this year we started basically with the release team, which is doing a great job. And we also decided to have the first release of the year with a 4-month release cycle. Okay, so what I'm proposing and discussing with you all is that what about we expand this experiment and we decide to have to continue with this release cadence for the entire 2023. That means that this year we will have 3 copy release, which nicely why I think this is a good solution. First of all, it is already an improvement from what we did in the past. In the past, there was not well-defined release cadence calendar, and usually we did 2 releases for years. So now it is 1 more, and most important, it is highly predictable. Second, it nicely aligns to the Kubernetes release cadence. Also, Kubernetes is going to do 3 releases per year. And if I look at this, it seems to me that the 4-month release is good for us as maintainer. We can implement meaningful stuff in each release. It's good for the release team because the commitment is meaningful enough, and at the same time it's not too much to deal with. It's good for the provider because each provider basically will have to bump a copy 3 times for a year, which is sustainable. And yeah, I think that is good also for the end user. So question is opinions. Mike, go on with your question.
Yeah, just prepping it up here since I don't really have a raise hand feature for me. But yeah, like I think this is really cool. It would definitely be helpful. And I'm very curious if we would want to align with the Kubernetes releases. And I say this partially as, you know, with my red hat on, I won't go grab it, but you know, we consume cluster API downstream. And so we're very concerned about, you know, doing rebases and whatnot. And I'm wondering if we move to this, would we be doing the same thing, like releasing with the Kubernetes releases? And I see Stefan has his hand up too.
I would answer your point. I think we would base, I mean, if we just continue doing this for the next 2 releases, which is the rest of this year, we would basically align to Kubernetes. Yep. So I think they were planning like April, August, December. We are currently on track for 28th March. The next one would be preliminary date, but roughly 25th July. And I guess the last one is like end of November. So plus minus a week or 2 or something, we would be like with Kubernetes. I think that's not too bad. It's probably they're probably nice dates in a sense of it's not like during Christmas or something like that. So which is probably also why Kubernetes might have ended up with those dates. And I don't know what other restrictions there are with vacation and with the usual times where vacations are and stuff like that. I think it's the one downside is like I think it's not really a downside, but the one consequence is that when we release basically at the same time as Kubernetes, cluster API minor release, a .0 release can't add support for the same Kubernetes release because it's not, I mean, it's released like 2 weeks sooner or later or whatever, but you can't implement support that fast. But I think that's actually fine because if you have like a month offset or something, then we have to super rush to get it in, and we don't really have a lot of, I mean, if let's say cluster API would be always released a month after Kubernetes, we always have that month to get stuff in. That means Kubernetes has to release, controller runtime has to release. We have to pick it up. We have maybe 2 weeks of CI. And then it also restricts our options regarding flagging those sort of issues as help-wanted issues, because like if you only have like 2 weeks to implement something, you can't really open it up to the whole community and let everyone do its part, right? And then combined with the current suggestion that we pick up support for new Kubernetes releases and patch releases, I think that's totally fine. I mean, what we probably roughly end up with is that cluster API is released slightly before Kubernetes. Then the Kubernetes release comes out, then the controller runtime release comes out. And then we can implement support for the just released Kubernetes release either in our .1 or in our .2 patch release. And it's very soon after the Kubernetes release. So I think that's overall good situation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for all the context there, Stefan. Mike, you're up next.
Yeah, I think he actually covered a lot of what I was going to say, but I just wanted to kind of +1 the idea of waiting a little bit versus doing it immediately following, so that we have that opportunity to bring in that minor release into it for that support. If we tried to do it the week following, would we have enough time to bring in that new version support? Because then we would end up having 4 months of not having support for that new version of Kubernetes. We just want to watch out for that possibility.
Yeah, great concerns, Mike, and thanks for sharing your opinion too. Does anyone else have thoughts or comments or questions about this kind of release cadence? All right, I'm not seeing any other hands going up. Fabrizio, is there any sort of follow-up on this? Do we want to have some sort of docs release or something? Or?
If we agree, what we can do is we can. There is a task in the job that I think that there is have to do, which is basically to draft the plan for the next release cycle. I'm right, Stefan, Yuvraj?
We should have two things, I think, which are related. One thing is, yeah, we should, as soon as we have some sort of agreement, we should write the new timeline for the next release. By the way, whoever is doing that, I have a draft, so you don't have to start from scratch. That's one thing. And the other thing, I think we have somewhere to do where we basically wrote after 1.4, we should discuss the release cadence. And as part of that PR, we can essentially drop that to do and move it over to, I don't know, in 2024 or something. And then we have a PR open, we can get approves on that, and then that's the decision. Something
Okay,
like that.
so since there is no objection, my suggestion is that we open a PR where we propose basically the first draft of the calendar for the next cycle, and we amend our release documentation as Stefan suggested. So then we can basically collaborate on the PR and seek consensus and get it merged, and it will be done. Is that a plan?
It sounds like it. Are there any objections to this plan? All right, I'm not seeing any hands going up. I'm seeing a thumbs up online. Yeah, probably the best thing, I guess, is make the PR, and then if we have objections, we could bring them up there and everything. And thank you to Stefan and Yuvraj as well for volunteering to help out. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our regular discussion topics. We'll now go into some provider updates. Sorry, maybe I misread that, Stefan. So we'll go into some provider updates now. So first, Kappa, Richard, why don't you take it away?
Yes, just a very quick one. Our end-to-end test suites they've become very, very unstable. There's lots of Reddit test grid. It seems to be related to the AWS account migration. So these are new AWS accounts, which is causing problems for our end-to-end tests with, limits and things like that. But also, there's some issues coming from boss costs. So the result of this is we're all focusing on getting our end-to-end tests green, which means we're not currently reviewing or merging any other changes in Kappa until we get green again. So there may be a delay if people have changes in getting those in.
Great, thanks for the update. And yeah, sounds like a little bit of a fire drill going on over there. Okay, Joe, you got an update on Cap OCI, please.
Hey, yeah, so we just released 0.70, and the two kind of big things is we now support in experimental state this managed OKE, as well as a multi-tenant management cluster. So those are two big things that we've been working on for a little while, and Sham, who did most of the work here, couldn't be here today, so I wanted to make sure we announce those things.
Awesome, sounds very cool, thank you. Next, Jonathan, and I can never remember what this one stands for, but for CAAPH. Oh wait, sorry, before we go on, Fabrizio, I see raised his hand.
I have a question for Joe. For the OKI support, are you aligning with the discussion ongoing on the Managed Kubernetes working group?
Yes. So I believe, as well as, I want to say it's GCP are the two that are using the new Managed Kubernetes proposal, which is the third option in the proposal there. So we're doing that, and also we are a part of the Managed Kubernetes work group. Is that what we're calling it? I believe. So trying to be a part of that as well. So
that's great. My only concern is that we are keeping everyone on the same page. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks. Okay, now Jonathan, CAAPH.
Oh, the Helm. It's the Helm thing. The Helm add-on provider. But yeah, I just wanted to follow up a bit about that. So since we got the repo set up, I've been working on setting up some test infra jobs. That's still kind of a work in progress, but I have been getting some issues and PRs in as well from other people. And I was hoping to get some feedback on what people think about the project and how it's working so far, as well as looking for new potential contributors and maintainers, because currently it's just me driving the development. So if anyone has any thoughts or feedback on how the prototype is working, please let me know.
Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. And yeah, I guess like for anybody watching this or here today, or maybe if you check it out later and you're interested in the Helm provider, yeah, please give Jonathan some feedback or check out the repo or open an issue or something.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing I'm really curious about is how well our design is able to accommodate people's existing add-on flows. So, we sketched out the design, and that's one thing, but it's also another to see if, hey, I have this kind of setup going, can I migrate it successfully to the specs you designed? So I would really be curious about how that's working out for people.
Yeah, it sounds like connecting with some users would be like super valuable.
Yeah, for sure. I got some, so I got some issues open as well as some PRs from people saying, oh, I found a bug. So I'm assuming that some people have tried it out, but I guess I haven't really gotten too much of an idea about what they think about it.
Cool. Well, I guess we send our shout out to the open source community, and hopefully we'll get something back. Fabrizio,
sure.
you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Just saying, yeah, it will take some time to get contributor on your project, but it looks amazing to me that we are already getting some issue. But yeah, I think that we can do something to help you. If you record, I don't know, a demo and a call for action, we can add this to the SIG Lifecycle playlist. You can write a mail to the mailing list, tell, hey guys, this is where we are. It is a new project. We are seeking for feedback and help. And so we can basically start beating the drum a little bit to help you. But yeah, if you have a demo or something that we can spend and that people can look to understand what the project is quickly without doing too much work, this will help.
Yeah, for sure. I guess on that note, I was thinking about getting image published to the registry through test info. Would I need to contact somebody to get the URL authorized for that, or would it just be enough to send a PR?
On top of my mind, I don't remember which is the project. I think that you can ask in test infra channel to say, oh, what is the process to do this? And if you don't find someone, please reach out and I will try to help you. Probably it is also written in country backs documentation or something, but yeah, I don't remember on top of my mind now.
Yeah, no worries. That's something we can look into. All right.
Let's take this offline.
And thanks Fabrizio and Richard for bringing up these suggestions. Yeah, I think writing blogs and demos and stuff like that, those are great suggestions and a good way to promote kind of the usability of the project too. So awesome to see the community kind of come together like that. Okay, so we'll move on to the last update here from Matt on CapZ. Please, Matt.
Hey, thanks. I don't really have anything to add to what I typed here. We just have a couple more or less weekly releases. If you have questions about that, ask me now or join us at the office hours tomorrow. And I thought I might mention, maybe people are aware of this, but you haven't seen our friend Jack Francis in a while because they have a new baby and he'll be out for a couple more weeks.
Nice. Well, I guess transitive congrats to Jack and the family. All right, cool. So that brings us to the end of our agenda for today. Are there any kind of ad hoc or last minute items that people would like to bring up? And I see a link coming up in chat here. I'm just going to click on it. Okay, that's the talk. Yeah,
Mike,
Fabrizio.
there is a nice query posted by Chris. Thank you, Chris, for this. That people can use for searching in their code base if they are still using the old registry. It is the second last message in the chat. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I will suggest to copy this in the meeting note as well, because yeah, it could help. Thank you, Chris, for this.
I guess, is there any explanation that needs to go with this, or can we just kind of cut and paste it here?
Just paste it.
It shows everything, it looks like.
Yes. Just paste it, and then I will add some comment.
Okay. So I think that brings us to the end. I'm just going to check the new messages here. Okay. I'm not seeing any new messages or hands coming up. So thanks for everybody for coming out. Good meeting. And I guess we'll see you next week.